españolita.
Yeah.
Just from
The reason I'm here. Okay. Oh, right, yes.
One of the first organizations that welcomed me to London was Canning House, because we had a house in 2 Belgrave Square, and they tend to welcome most Latin Americans coming to London.
I'm connected to Latin America because I'm Mexican, to Canning House because they have really interesting events that make me be close to my country while being away.
Canning House is fortunate to be located in Belgrave Square. All the Latin American and Iberian embassies are members of Canning House through their ambassadors, and they tend to be very nearby, and it gives a pleasant and very British context to the relationship and the sort of events that we like to hold here. The reason we're named Canning House is after George Canning, who was a very well-known foreign secretary. Canning symbolises a British hero to the independent Latin American countries, and hence it's a positive connotation that we're seeking to transmit through our name.
I was comparing notes in the discussion we had this morning, and I found out that Canning House and myself were born the same year, which is, so don't tell anybody. Don't tell my wife, she thinks I'm 10 years younger.
Canning House was founded in 1943 by Lord Davidson and some business associates of his, essentially as a result of them finding the going rather harder than they expected with their investments in Argentina and other parts of Latin America. In essence, what they discovered is that there was a lack of understanding and familiarity as regards Latin America within the British political, diplomatic, business and academic establishment. And they investigated in quite some depth and found out that underpinning that lack of understanding and familiarity was a lack of the ability to speak Spanish and Portuguese.
I'm glad to say that Canning House played a small part in the movement that's going on in British schools now, when more and more Spanish is being taught. I think it's now the second most widely taught language in our schools. The role of Canning House is to bring Latin America more and more to the attention of people, not just businesses, but culturally, language-wise, in Great Britain, and I think we're moving in the right direction there.
The future seems pretty bright to me, looking forward. There are always ups and downs of British interest in Latin America. That comes and goes. But the constant is Canning House and the interest and the role we try and perform in our relations, the UK's relations with Latin America.
At Canning House, I'm the Chief Operating Officer. Originally, I'm Anglo-Brazilian, so my family emigrated to the UK from Brazil in about the mid-1800s, and they liked it so much, despite the awful climate, that they never went home. And I've ended up back in Canning House because I wanted to kind of come home to my roots, if you like. First time I ever went to Brazil, I was as a tourist, and I walked out onto the Copacabana beach 2 hours to midnight. And the thing that stood out for me was the moment I walked out onto the beach, everybody was enjoying themselves in their own ways. There were people drinking beer, there were people dancing, but as everybody surged down the beach, every now and again you'd come across somebody who was doing candomblé, you know, the religious practice that was imported with the slaves from Africa. And someone in the middle of the beach would have a row of candles, a little circle of candles, and as people surged along enjoying themselves, they'd just part quietly, go around the other side, not touch anything, knock anything over, and just carry on surging and drinking and partying. And there was just a kind of live and let live there that was just so wonderful that I felt immediately at home.
What is so exciting about being here is meeting people that has the same interest, again, being connected and being current with what is happening in my region and in my countries.
I've been able to form personal friendships with people from all over the region, but also meet new potential clients and commercial partners, and just learn more about the region in general.
We do it in a modern context. We're entirely independent of government or any other major organisation. Most of our funding continues to come from our corporate members, of whom there are around 60 and growing quite quickly at the moment. Some individual contributions, and we take sponsorship from corporates and foundations where we can to support our programme. It has a historic feel to it, a prestigious feel to it, but it's still relevant today, and we certainly have no difficulties in attracting business people from the city or further afield to come here. It's a place that people like to come to, and it's easy to come to.
Well, it's a unique opportunity. London is a fabulous city. You get exposed to people from all over the world, all over Latin America, something we don't often get in our own countries. And of course, Canning House brings all of us together.
The idea of corruption, transparency, insecurity, rule of law is and are issues that people are aware of. It's at the forefront of the mind in Latin America. But our role at Canning House is to help people understand the reality of those issues and to help them to tackle with them and deal with them such that they can get on and do perfectly legitimate business in those countries quite successfully.
Venezuelans are simple people with a huge heart, and they are very quick with their mind.
I think of Argentina as a mixture of cultures, religions, languages that have come together to form their own identity.
When we come here, you say I have a secret, which is being Colombian and having had these experiences and connections with Latin America, but living in the UK. I think we have the best of both worlds.
What people associate us with and what brings us together is our meat, our friends, our mate, our social times, our music.
I'm very passionate. If you start telling me to talk about Colombia, I will never stop.
Being Venezuelan allows you to get some street smart skills that when you take that to business or you get that to contribute to non-for-profit institutions like Canning House, it really makes a difference.
Every day in the life of Capurro of Canning House is different. A typical day will involve a large percentage of time working on the organisation and logistics of events, and as CEO I get involved certainly in the big key events that we do. I'll get a phone call saying that actually next week there's a minister coming in from somewhere in Latin America. Could we accommodate them, arrange a meeting or arrange for a presentation, or do we know someone in Parliament that they could talk to? There is then a lot of the facilitation that we do on behalf of our corporate members and other stakeholders, putting people together. I'll get a phone call saying we've got a particular issue that's arisen rather suddenly with regard to the change in legislation around excise taxes in Bolivia. We're sending people out to Bolivia, but we'd like an urgent meeting with the Bolivian ambassador and we haven't met him yet. So that kind of facilitation takes place. I spend a lot of time out of the office talking to senior people in particular companies and trying to get them to join Canning House because we can add value to their business proposition. Because of the milieu that we work in, I'm forever getting asked to attend, as are my staff, other people's events and receptions. We work hand in glove with all the Latin American and Iberian embassies, so it really is extraordinarily varied, very interesting, and ranges from watering my own flower behind me to attending high-level meetings with VVIPs.
My favourite food?
So everybody asks me my favourite country and I can't do that. My favourite food?
Steak.
The picante,
I would say empanadas.
very spicy food.
The type of Mexican taco that is like an arepa folded with your favorite contents inside.
Lots of it, different cuts. It depends what you want. Asado, bife de lomo, chinchulines, mollejas.
Probably had 3 steaks in a week, which is probably a record for me.
I love it. And when I go to Bolivia, which I do it quite often, not every day, but at least 3-4 times a year, I try to do that.
Avocado or palta in Chile is amazing. So it's more than the dish itself, it's the produce that is so amazing in some of the countries.